Shall we go? Yep, let's go. And so we're live on YouTube. So now we can start our meeting. We have a quorum. I think I just start with the reading of our motto by Rudolf Steiner. The healing social life is found when in the mirror of each human soul, the whole community finds its reflection, and when in the community, the virtue of each one is living. We don't normally do our song, but let's move on to excitement sharing. Anybody?
We have a new little baby that was born in the Winterberry faculty group. Miss Jenny, who's our hybrid teacher, had her little boy on the 13th, little Lucas Albert Soroyan, and he is here and all is well. Their family is just falling in love. And so it's really, it's a beautiful thing.
My husband got home from a trip, so he got to finish digging out the snow. I had conveniently only shoveled a path for the mailman and for my car. So it was nice to see the snow blower out there because it was a lot.
Yeah, this snow is just so great for skiing. I'm so happy about that. It's been a lot of fun.
I mean, I'm excited. Just a few months ago, these meetings we were having, everybody's window behind them was in pretty much complete darkness. And as it gets brighter and brighter, I think it's representative of some of the hopefulness that a lot of us are feeling at the moment, and just clinging on. We're getting towards summer. Excited about it.
I'm excited because I get my second vaccination next week and I can't wait. I'm going to go lick everything around me. No, not really. But it just feels so hopeful to be getting that. So I'm super thankful and really excited as well.
Any other excitements? All right. Shall we move on? How about we move on to the approval of minutes from our last meeting? Let me see if I can't make this work. I'm going to pull them up for your review. Can you see it?
Yes, indeed.
Great. If I need to scroll, let me know. I'll scroll down.
Alex, that looks like I'm seeing the agenda from
I'm sorry.
today.
Yeah, thank you. Let me undo that. Thank you very much. I need new glasses. How about that? Is this working? Okay. Let me know if I'm going too fast. Are there any comments or Can you would like to suggest any amendments at all? Anyone?
I just have my name is misspelled. It's Sussannah, so there's a double S and not a double N. So that's it from my end. Looking out for number 1 here.
So it's not correct on your Zoom window?
It is now.
That is the correct spelling on my Zoom window.
Okay, so one, okay.
It was double S was the misspelling. If you see on approval of the agenda, it's SUSSA. And yeah,
Okay, thanks.
thanks.
And then once more down, further down. In the gratitude section. Do we need to do a motion to amend? Or is that
I motion to approve the minutes as amended.
second?
And
All right, all in favor? Twinkle Susanna's name. Great,
Could you, I'm sorry, who seconded?
that sounded like Peter. Peter.
Okay, thank you.
All right, if everyone's ready, let's move on to the approval of our agenda, and I will get to our agenda now. Let me know if you can't see it. If anyone has any changes or amendments you'd like to request, let me know. You speak up. All
motion to approve the agenda.
right, can I have a second?
I'll second. Sarah Glasser.
All right. All in favor, please twinkle. Right. Now it's community comment time. Any other requests, changes, any minutes? We're good. Now it's time for community comments. I don't see anybody on this Zoom, but I'm going to read the section anyway.
Alex,
yes.
pardon me for a minute. Somebody just, a phone just came on, and in a moment they'll identify themselves.
Thank you.
Hi
Appreciate it.
there, this is Jessie Menkins calling in. Thank you.
Oh, Jesse, great. Okay.
So just to get through it, the 3 minute, you should have about 3 minutes, very short time to comment. We don't take a long time. This is the public's time though to talk and the board's time to listen. Winterberry Charter Council does not hear complaints against students or personnel in public session. It is not the board's practice to engage in discussion or to answer questions during community comments. Commenters' names will be recorded in the minutes. Thank you. No community comments? All right. Now let's move on to our informational reports. Kathy Phelps.
Yes.
Principal's report.
Great. I'm going to, I haven't yet emailed, I noticed that I didn't email it yet, and I'll do that during this meeting, but I'm going to just share my screen and go from there. Okay. Principal report. All right. Grateful, heart, head, and hands is how I usually organize my report for anybody who hasn't been here before. Grateful for the ongoing communication with Winterberry families as we make decisions to serve our whole community. Celebrating coming back in person on Monday. Celebrating our at-school student support program and our outdoor offerings for the past month. That we have been coming together in different ways, and how that's been successful, and we've been healthy and developing and practicing all kinds of protocol. Mr. Edwin, our BPO, received his 15-year pin from the district, and we are grateful for him. We purchased air purifiers, humidifiers for every classroom. This was part of our COVID money funds that came in on our to our school. Specifically, we purchased CO2 air quality monitors for every classroom. And we are developing currently outdoor spaces that have been and are in the midst of development and design for the fourth quarter, setting those things up. Our faculty and staff committee work was done to develop our in-person learning decisions and different things like that, scheduling, and that was a collaborative effort. We have welcomed 6 subs into our building who will support teachers in our cohort model when we come back on Monday to in-person learning. And I would ask once again that everyone on this board would review the Winterberry's back in school plan on the ASD website. And that is also, I have that, a link to that there, and I can stick it in the chat box for anybody who would like to go to it. It's a document that continually gets sort of organized, updated, and tweaked as we come back. I read it in our faculty meeting today from start to finish, and so maybe there's a couple of words here and there that I'm gonna, change a little bit, but nothing significant. And it's pretty much what we're gonna, our protocol that we're gonna use when we come back on Monday. So anyway, I have this, I just put the Steiner quote in the bottom because I think it is really important. I'd like to read it again. I know we read it at the beginning of our WCC, but a healthy social life is found only when, in the mirror of each soul, the whole community finds its reflection, and when, in the whole community, the virtue of each one is living. Is there any questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. No questions. Then we will move on to the faculty report.
Yeah, I just briefly was going to share that this week has felt like a pretty big shift for the staff coming back. I think prior to spring break, just the need for a break and then the anxiety that comes around transitions was apparent, but now there's a really good feeling of excitement. And so I know today, personally, I was lucky enough to plan with Miss Robichaux, and she took me through the woods because I get lost quite easily to plan for the first grade nature walk. And while we were out there, we were just talking about the possibilities, and it's starting to feel in interactions like a really hopeful and fun beginning. So, and every class, I will say that I've talked to most teachers, and it seems like every class has some unique way they've got to do it, because there's the in-person component and the virtual, and then just based on the class needs. So we are finding a way to fold in the cheese. And yeah, I think that's all I'm going to say. And I'm excited.
Is that everything? We can move on to the WPG report. Jesse, are you able to comment?
Yes, I can provide brief comment, and I did give a very short report and circulated that out as well. So just to recap that, at the last WPG meeting that we had earlier this month, there was great interest, of course, in the back to school plans and the opportunity to hear more from Principal Pepe Phelps about protocol, safety protocol, and just having a good discussion along those lines. And we all really appreciated that. Also, I will share that our current president, Una Martin, is stepping down. And we, of course, have really enjoyed and appreciated her strong leadership over the past couple of years, and are thankful for her service to our community. We are actively recruiting to fill that position, along with another few positions. I believe there's a vice president position, treasurer's position, as well as a fundraising position. In the newsletter this afternoon, there was a link that was circulated with additional information, and just request this body's support, WCC's support, with helping to think about recruitment for all of those positions, but certainly especially the president position. And then just to wrap up my report, I want to say a huge thank you to our principal, to our staff, to our entire faculty for all of their hard work and the heart that they're putting into that work in preparation for bringing school back into session in building and welcoming students back into the building, as well as their efforts to ensure that they are holding and attending to the needs of those students that are choosing to remain remote. So the WPG recognizes that hard work, and we say thank you. And that concludes my report. I'm certainly happy to address any questions the body has. Okay, thank you.
Questions? Thank you very much. I guess maybe I did have a question. Did you have any, were there any recommendations for how we could help to get the word out other than our usual?
So Alex, are you asking me what my recommendations are around recruitment?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I would just say that, and pardon the background noise, I would just say that for those who are thinking about this, think about an individual who, has the ability to devote some time. The commitment varies depending on, those different positions. The position descriptions are, very informative and help illustrate sort of what's required of those positions. But looking for listening skills, the ability to take on running meetings for that president role. But this is a role, that particular role is a role that you can really grow into. And so if the individual that you might have in mind has time to contribute, please encourage them to just give it some consideration. I know Una would be more than happy to sit down and have a conversation about roles and responsibilities. And then similarly for the vice president role, similar aptitude and ability to do some of those meeting management skills and organizational skills. For the treasurer's position, we are looking for someone who has that experience, who has, helped keep books in the past and enjoys that work, who would have the desire to volunteer. And I know that that's, that is a time commitment, but we are really looking for that skill set. And then with fundraising, I would just say that is a wonderful role. It is an amazing opportunity to help support our school, to help support ongoing training opportunities for teachers. And so, the ability to think about events, think about the organization that's needed to help dispatch different tasks to others who will provide helping hands for things like the auction and other events. That's a very exciting role. And just know that whomever is the fundraising chair, they are not alone. There is a group and a committee that would be supporting that individual with their leadership. So there's just some ideas, but think about who's in your class, whom you know in the school community who might be willing to step up and contribute to the school. So thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. I think for anyone who might be listening on YouTube, that was very helpful, and it's nice of you to volunteer, Una, because she, in my experience, is a very nice person, and I bet she'd be, I think you're right, she'd really welcome anybody who wanted to reach out to her to ask further questions. Thank you, Jesse. Anything else? Any questions? On to the committee report. Administrative committees. Safety committee report?
There is really nothing to report except that we've completed repair of all emergency lighting. We've been through a process of getting all the emergency lighting numbered and categorized and repairing the ballast that needed repairing, and that is all finished, and we're ready to go in that direction.
WCC, any questions? Should we move on to WCC subcommittees? Legislative policy, anything new, Jesse?
All I can say with that one is that with the recent action at the federal level and the passage of the relief plan from the Biden administration, I know that we are going to be seeing a whole nother influx of federal dollars to support public education. And I know we've spent some time discussing in this body about the CARES Act funds. And honestly, I think there's more work to be done at the state level in terms of disbursement of those CARES Act funds. So, all said and done, this is good. It's good news for our school and for our greater district community, and looking forward to seeing how distribution of those dollars shapes out. That's where I'll leave that report today.
Thank you. Grant committee, budget.
Yes, I emailed out my budget report as well as a graph. Julie, would you be able to pull it up on I emailed it through WCC. It should be right there. Got it? Yeah, just pull up the graph first. That might be easier. And then I'll go through the report and then you can change to the report. Sorry, Mike. Are you able to pull it? You're finding it?
Yeah, Shana, you want me to pull up the graph first? Is that what you said?
Yep,
Okay.
graph first, please.
Oh boy, look at that cute little baby. Graph, there it is. Okay. Let's see here.
Thank you.
All right.
So this is the comparison of our third quarter budget fiscal year breakdown compared to what we budgeted for. Hold on one second.
Exactly. Mute and give them the what for, and then. I love 6 o'clock meetings.
Okay, sorry. So, if you look at this, the salaries and benefits are estimated to be slightly under budget in comparison due to less spending on the substitutes and added duties. So this year, because we've been virtual, we haven't spent a lot of money on our substitutes. And later on in the report, you'll see that most of our substitutes and extra help right now are coming out of our CARES Act fund, not our budget here, not these funds. As well, you'll notice that we also don't have a handwork TA, so you'll notice that that's another difference in our salary and budget. Our building costs are within budget, so it's still pretty, it's right on where it should be. You will notice that our percentage is slightly different because of our building. We pay a month ahead of time in order for us, or ASD pays a month ahead of time all the way through. So that way in June, they don't make a payment because everything is closing out. Our supply costs, you'll notice we spent significantly less in the contract services, and obviously we haven't spent anything on travel since we haven't been allowed to. We've had increased spending in student supply expenses due to a lot of our CARES Act money in the first month or so wasn't eligible to us. So we did use more in our supplies because obviously we had to get more supplies for our students, sending them home, things like that. But we're pretty much where we should be anyway, due to the balance of the contract services and the travel, balancing that out. And then you'll see the unallocated. Those are our unallocated funds. Those are basically what you would call our savings account. where we had 194,980 in there. We have redistributed those into other places, which then you would in our for our student supplies as well as our liability insurance because it was more. So now we have 164,379 in that. And then for our rollover, which isn't on there, it's on my report though, but our rollover balance for our unallocated, again, that's like our savings account, which is separate from what this budget savings account is 464,173, making our total unallocated balance 628,552. So Julie, would you mind putting up the report part?
So the report's up. You see it?
Nope.
What?
I just see the chart still.
Oh my gosh.
You might have it selected just on that one specific window, so you might have to stop share and reshare.
Okay. All right. Stop share. Let's see here. Oh, here we go.
Here we go.
Okay. Thank you for standing by.
Yep. And so in the bottom of the report, you'll see the ESER 1, which is our first CARES Act fund money that we received. Out of that 56,614 that we received, we have 22,904 remaining. Most of those funds were spent on additional PPE, the air purifiers and the quality air controls that Julie mentioned previously. Also our substitutes to assist in the cohorts, as well as all the added duty substitutes that we had for our student support classes that we were doing. And we also ordered, out of that, we ordered the new computers and computer cart. We won't receive those till later, but it's nice to have, be able to do that since they're about $10,000. On our ESER 2, we have yet to, we've received 273,954. We have not used any of those funds yet. They want us to use the ESER 1 first before we use the ESER 2. So once the ESER 1 is all used up, then we'll roll over and to start using the ESER 2 funds.
And we explain that we have a little time to use up all those funds.
Yes, we have until 2023 to use those funds. So, and they will roll over to next year and until they're used up. It's good. It's not something we need to rush this year, like like an expiring grant that would be this year. So doesn't expire for a couple years. Does anybody have any questions?
Is that it expires at the beginning of 2023 or at the end?
The end of fiscal year.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you have to use all of those funds, or is that something to where whatever you just don't use, and then do they end up taking those funds back? Or I guess how does that work if you do not use those funds?
So like as most grants, because this is also just a federal grant, if you don't use them by the expiration date, yes, it goes back and then it gets sent back to like the federal government or whomever issued those grants. So yes, it's a use it or lose it. Now there are times, and I don't think there is one on this, but like other grants, you can ask for an extension based on extenuating circumstances. But I haven't heard if they even have this option for these funds.
This is Jessie. I have a question, if I may.
Yes.
Yeah, I just was wondering, are there guardrails on that? Are there particular rules for expenditures for those particular funds?
Oh, yes. Yeah, they're very, very, it's broad, but it's still fairly narrow. So for instance, it would be anything that COVID has impacted you or something, or the need for students. Like we could use it, like I said, for substitute teachers. We can use it as long as those substitute teachers are there for the students' need, because we're in a, because they're behind because of COVID. And we can use it for a counselor if we decide to use it for a counselor, because when we come back to school, students may have various distress issues because of the environment we've been living in. We can also use it for like I said, the standard PPE, computers, because of a lot of virtual needs. So anything that we can narrow down and say it's going to benefit the students because of the situation we're in. If, say, for instance, they're questioning it, and then we can go, I would ask ASD. If it's not within their parameters, ask ASD. ASD then would contact the state and find out if they can adjust it, or if it would be applicable for these funds.
Thank you for that. And, it does also highlight for me ongoing conversations that we've heard from WCC members about an interest in supporting the behavioral health of our community given the pandemic. So thank you. Appreciate that recap.
Yep, you're welcome.
Are there any other questions, comments? Nope. Okay. If there are no questions or comments, I'll move on to the grant committee. Peter, I don't have anything. Do you? I have one very small tidbit, which is that our grant application to the Department of Agriculture for the micro grant, there are 2,500 applications for that grant. So they really meant it when they said there was a lot of interest. And I can't remember exactly the way it was worded, but on the website I read, they'll be looking into ways to allocate these funds in a way that addresses as many issues as possible or something like that. So I wonder if they're contemplating a much smaller grant, but more grants to more different people, just in smaller amounts. It wasn't clear. And it may take some time for them to get to wade through all of those applications. Those are the preliminary applications, to wade through those preliminary applications. But that's all I have.
Do they know how well-meaning and good-looking we are? Because that should play a role in their determination.
For sure.
Yeah, that's a lot of applications. Okay.
You should have encouraged Una to put her photo.
Fingers crossed.
That's it from the grants committee. From my perspective, I didn't talk to Peter. Peter, is that it? Any questions? Let's move on then to the election subcommittee. Susanna, is that you?
That's me. Yeah, so everyone probably saw it. We had our election, and we had great. Well, I don't actually know how many people have voted in the past. I tried to hunt that down, but it's all kind of a patchwork. But we had 55 different parents voting, which felt like a strong showing. We're happy to welcome Nick, who was elected into the empty seat. Very exciting. And yeah, I think it went as well as could be expected under the circumstances. So we have, I think it would be worth for future election committees considering some sort of online option, because it was very smooth. So all the information got imported right into a spreadsheet, and I was able to check all of it, and worked with Miss Colleen to ensure that, we had the right people voting, and nobody from outside the school was voting. So by the right people, I mean people who weren't allowed to vote in our school election. Yep. So we're good to go. Just a quick housekeeping, sort of related. I'm working on updating the giving a current contact list for all the WCC members. So if everyone could just email me whatever information you'd like included in that, at a bare minimum, your name and your phone number. That way I can update it and pass it on. I know that they need it for the end of the year thing. And also I want to make sure Alex has that as part of his role. So thus concludes my report. Any questions?
Thank you. Can I?
No questions, but just welcome, Nick. Welcome.
Yes. It's good to have you here. See, good things happen with community comments. Now we have Nick.
I appreciate it. Thank you. It's actually, you know, between the other committee that we were working on to working on the cohort model and back to school, I really enjoyed it, and it's actually been a lot of fun working with you guys, and I'm excited. I really am. So thank you.
Good. Any other questions?
Welcome, Nick. I had a quick question. Did we ever, as far as contact information, written contact, did we want to complete sort of corporate email address accounts for members? Dredging this up from a long time ago.
Yeah, I think so. I started that process and then I stopped because of children. But I think it would be better if we worked with ASD to get ASD specific email accounts, and then people could set up forwarding. So I'd be happy to reach out to Daryl about that, because as I think about it, I mean, I do think we should have some sort of Google Drive that everyone can access, but I think having them be the bosses of that might be a good idea. So I'd be happy to reach out to Daryl if you'd like.
Sure. However
Okay.
it works, it's fine. Thank you. And I think I remember seeing, I want to say, I recall that those numbers that the 54, it sounds about par for the course. I think I remember something last time.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a little bit low, but overall, I mean, it wasn't just 2 people voting, so that's good. Or just, 12 people who all are on the charter council voting. That was also a concern, so yeah.
Well, if there are no other questions, should we move on to business items? I may need some help here. We have a new members welcoming, in which we did a little already. Welcome, Nick. But part of that is the swearing in. And do we have any formal procedure? I can't remember. Do we do anything?
No, we don't have anything listed in our bylaws. So I don't believe we do any sort of swearing in. Maybe we should. I mean, is there a sash that we can make, or a crown, an election crown?
Or is there something around here somewhere? I'm pretty positive.
Nick, I do have a whole little new member packet that I'll be sending your way later. I didn't have a chance to send it before the meeting, but it has our bylaws, our charter, some other documents that will help you in your new role. So.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
And I want to thank Miss Lisa too for the constant little slight nudging in all the little meetings. Like, there is openings coming up.
Well, we could get your signature on the Charter Council member agreement. We could call that your formal document. But everybody has to. Can I move on to the next business item, the Charter Council member agreements? We do need to fill those out, sign them, and I have a copy here that Susanna provided me, which you can look at if you'd like. I could pull it up, or I could just distribute it. Any preference?
Alex, were you thinking you would just email it and we could all, like, as a PDF, and we could all sign it and return it and have that in file? Or
What I'll do is I'll send it out for signature, your email address, which I have. So,
maybe you could just give us for those of us who haven't signed it in a year and don't remember, a brief overview of what it entails.
sure. Essentially, I'll just read the highlights. The agreement is supposed to reflect our shared vision for our meeting, our obligations, and to the Winterberry community, and our understanding, and to emphasize our understanding of the threefold governance of Winterberry. And specifically, we are supposed to agree to attend all the meetings as required in the bylaws, and prepare ourselves for meetings through reading agendas, minutes, and reports, and keep people informed on issues that may come before the council. We're supposed to participate in a minimum of one administrative committee or other WCS governance body each academic year. We need to be educated in the policies and procedures of the WCC as described in the documents in the WCC bylaws, the Winterberry Charter School Charter, and the Charter Council Code of Ethics, which we'll provide along with this document. And we, I think, need to just provide become acquainted with the need of our community, our constituents, our students and teachers and faculty, and be respectful, which hasn't been a problem for us ever. So, and then adhere to the confidentiality of executive sessions, and adhere and uphold to the requirements of the Open Meetings Act. And there's more information that Nick, I can help get to you for that as well. And just in general, keep the flame burning. So you get to read all of that in an email tonight, hopefully. So,
Alex,
yes.
this is Jessie. I have just a question. I heard you discussing it, but what is this? Is this the roles and responsibility of WCC, or is this something new that's being circulated?
It's, you know, I gotta admit that it slipped that I signed this. I forgot that I signed this. Everybody did. It's the Winterberry Charter Council member agreement, and we're supposed to sign it when we start, and each year renewing it. Just to
Understood.
keep refreshed.
Yes. And then I do know that from time to time, a member might have to request to be excused if he or she has to miss. So I'm just curious on, I don't remember the exact language around some of that, but I'm curious about that. I think our attendance is quite strong in this body, but is there leeway if needed for excusal?
No, I don't have the bylaws in front of me, but I can read from the agreement, and if we need to modify it or make any adjustments, we could do that. But I'll read what it says in the agreement. Attend and participate in all regular meetings as required in the bylaws. We're human.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, we can't be perfect, but if that needs to be changed, we can talk about it. Yes, Susanna?
I believe in our bylaws, it says that if you miss more than 2 meetings in a row, that's when you run into issues. Just speaking as a former chair, there were some things where it was just kind of up to my discretion as the chair to check in with members who hadn't been attending and make sure everything was okay more than anything. So it does happen, but overall, I don't think we've ever had to take formal action against a member who just ghosted the whole charter council, which is great. Hopefully it doesn't come to that, but I think we have it in the bylaws because in case something like that happens, we have a mechanism to use.
Thank you.
And Alex, I think another sort of element that's important, you spoke about the Open Meetings Act, but for anybody who isn't quite familiar with the Open Meetings Act, not any more than 2 members on the WCC can be talking about any business that has to do with WCC business together. So if 3 people find themselves standing outside, then the subject of whatever is happening in WCC, 3 WCC members find themselves just milling around together, that is in violation of the Open Meetings Act if those 3 people start to talk about any kind of WCC related business.
Yes, and there are trainings, I think, periodically available.
Every year. There's
helpful.
training every year on open meetings. And Shana and I have gone, and occasionally WCC members are in attendance, but some schools have their whole APC or WCC attend those meetings. And I would really appreciate as high of attendance as we can muster, because it shows that we're a, active and informed board. So.
And if we don't adhere to the Open Meetings Act, there can be financial consequences to the school in the form of lawsuits for people who felt or were excluded from the
information.
So that's the reason, and you can't get fancy about it either. The Open Meeting Act applies if there's more than 2 people. If it's a meeting, it needs to be presented publicly, and there needs to be notice and everything. But you can't get fancy and say, okay, Julie, I'm going to say what I think we need to do in the next meeting, and I'd really appreciate it if you mentioned that to Paula, and then had her forward it on too. So if you're trying to get business done outside of the public sphere, you're doing wrong. So it's a lot of complicated aspects of that act that those trainings really help with. So Nick, and I may have some old paperwork from one of those that I can send you to. I'll look for it. I'm a reader, not a listener, so you might like that. Okay.
Just so I'm under the same understanding now, it's every 3rd Thursday of the month, correct? And then it's just is it usually always 6 p.m. too? Is that kind of like the going? Okay, perfect.
And I don't want to get too verbose, but when I started, I think I hit reply all to one of the emails from the WCC. And that, I think, is sort of frowned upon, and maybe the reason is it's a communication with more than one other person on the charter committee. So it's kind of like a violation of depending on what you say, so just lots of things to contemplate.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So I don't think, and Susanna, you can confirm this, as far as our ability to make decisions it's against the Open Meetings Act unless the public can be looking in on what we're doing and decisions that we are making. Therefore, if we send out just a closed email with just the WCC members, it would be in violation of the Open Meetings Act, because the public couldn't be looking in on those that interchange with email. So, and we have learned a little bit along the way, and now we are very conscientious for the last couple of years in putting committee work on YouTube or on Zoom, or publicizing committee work on our front door, so that the public has an opportunity to come and observe. They don't participate in that committee work, but they are allowed to come and observe.
Any other warnings or comments?
Just that going to that training made me terrified to even open my mouth or send a WCC related email, because they do a very good job, and it'll make you afraid to do anything, which is probably maybe a little bit healthy. So
there aren't any other comments, I'd like to move on to the next order of business, which I think is the Principal Evaluation Committee, which, and please help me along here, but we need to form a Principal Evaluation Committee and solicit feedback from the faculty, and we need to, and in the words of something I read, task faculty reps with presenting this to staff and faculty. So would anybody like to volunteer to kick the discussion off? Or maybe even...
Do we have, I remember doing this in the past, and we had a form for faculty to fill out anonymously, I think. Do we still have that?
Yes, Susanna forwarded that to me helpfully, and I'll send those out to the group. And I can, just to be totally transparent, I can show it to everyone right now during this open meeting. If that's okay. Would you like to see a copy? Is that relevant? All right. Just a second. This is the, if you can see it, the WCC Principal Evaluation. There's two forms. This is for the WCC, and I'll just leave it up there for a minute.
Alex, if I could interject here really quick, this is relevant to Open Meetings Act stuff. Because this is a personnel issue, this would not be subject to the same Open Meetings Act compliance. We would not stream the Principal Evaluation Committee or make it publicly available because it's
certainly that thing. Thank you. Certainly, yeah, certainly not. So we do need to form a committee for that reason. In part. So would somebody like to? Excuse me.
I would be happy to be the point of contact to send the staff evaluations out, and then I think that's as far as Lisa or I can participate. So I'm happy to do that for the faculty side.
Would anybody like to head up be a member of the committee?
I guess my question is, this is more of a facilitation of a process rather than like individuals making evaluations, because I would feel far from qualified to make any given evaluation about performance in that regard. But if I was facilitating like a feedback process and then like putting a cumulative thing together or whatever, you know, I'm happy to do that. But I'd be part of a process, but I don't see myself as qualified to be part of the evaluation itself.
So I think in the past we've had a committee work for this, but it's not necessary. We could have just a closed session with the whole charter, the whole group. But in the past, I think we've done a committee. It might be easier in some respects. Any comments?
Yeah, just speaking from my experience of serving on a couple of these committees, the form really provides benchmarks that are fairly objective benchmarks that are helpful. And how we've done it in the past is, you know, the faculty feedback is really key for sort of synthesizing that into an overall evaluation. And also, you know, I think, I don't remember if we did this, but I feel like one year, like everyone individually filled out a form and then the committee kind of pooled that and created an evaluation, but it's not the same as, Principal Pepe Phelps has a formal evaluation with the school district. And that is different from what we do. This is more of the Waldorf touchy-feely version of that, where we, you know, look at her contract, look at her, not her contract, sorry, her job description, and also at the benchmarks in the evaluation, and just offer any feedback as a board that we might have. So I feel like it's pretty malleable. It could go a lot of different ways depending on what the board wants to do. There's not a set in stone process for this, just that we need to provide Principal Peppy Phelps some form of formalized feedback on her role as our principal.
Is this mainly coming from faculty, or is this from like faculty, parents, like the community, a little bit of everybody, or I guess no?
It's coming from the board, and because we're the boss essentially, and also feedback from faculty kind of helps inform, you know, no one knows better than faculty how it is day in and day out. So they provide that kind of feedback that we can use to inform the report. If there were like glaring issues, that it would be pretty easy to talk about that, or to figure, sorry, I got a baby crying.
Well, so I don't leave the body in deafening silence. I'm willing to be a part of the process and do what it takes to, do a decent job at it. I guess there's not necessarily going to be any other person who feels more qualified in this body to do that. So I will gather information and help be part of a group that does this, so that it's not unassigned.
Thank you both. And Sarah, thank you for volunteering to take that document for me and organize that. But since I think we did the committee method in the past, I kind of feel like the burden is on us to do it to say why we should do it differently. But I think it's better to have the entire council participate in that, since it's a central part of our function. The budget is one thing, and principal evaluation is another, and we should all be involved in it. That's my personal feeling.
Can I just ask a quick question? So what is the work of the committee? Like, what are the mechanics of what they need to do? If I had a better sense of that, that would help.
You'd get, I think Susanna mentioned that the evaluation form itself is very well structured. And so it's pretty, when you look at it, you'll see what you have to do. It's not overly complicated or hand wavy.
It needs to get distributed. I'm sorry, it needs to get distributed to staff, faculty, and the board to fill out, and then a group needs to evaluate that.
Right. So we take the evaluation.
And just to be clear, faculty have a specific form as it pertains to their relationship with Principal Peppy Phelps and what they see in the day-to-day that as a board we wouldn't see. And then the board also has its own form that they use.
Does that answer your question, Paula?
Yeah. I'm happy to be involved however, can be helpful. I'm not quite sure of how it gets distributed. Is it just by email, or, I guess just since I haven't done this before, I'm not quite clear on the mechanics, but, I'm happy to help any way that, I can.
Lisa, you had your hand up. I didn't know if you wanted to say anything. I was just going to mention that I think in the past, Paula, that that committee work has happened in executive session rather than over email. And so Lisa and I can solicit faculty responses, and then we're out because Julie's our employer. And so then it'll be up to the rest of the WCC to sit in that executive session and do her evaluation with all the information you have.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Yes, and this is Jessie. I recall participating in that process, and it worked very, very smoothly. It's a good process.
Jessie, do you mean the committee process specifically?
No, I mean having the conversation in executive session. Once it's been lined out, executive committee members have that ability to then look to the staff feedback. There's a rubric that we work through. It's a good process to be doing that during executive session.
Oh, Lisa.
And I just wanted to indicate that Sarah and I could probably have faculty feedback to the WCC board by next WCC meeting. If we were provided with the feedback form promptly, we could, you know, between now and then have that feedback gathered for the committee to take forth.
You're done. So I will ensure to get those forms distributed, and we will make it a business item for the next meeting. Am I missing anything?
So just so I'm clear, the time frame, just on the time frame, so all the information gathering is going to happen over this next month, and at the next WCC meeting, is there going to be a committee meeting before to go through the information so that there could be an executive session next meeting? I mean, how are we, how's the information going to come together? And then I remember last year sitting and, you know, just going through that with, maybe it was just Susanna. I can't remember exactly right now.
No, I think it was with a few of us together. We did an open conversation.
Okay.
With both of Phelps. Yeah.
And that was that an executive session?
I think you had two things, if I remember. You had that discussion, that committee, perhaps that committee interaction. Jesse, let me know if I'm wrong, because I wasn't there. And then we had a executive session in a full charter council meeting. And it was probably in the month following, so it would be in April at the next meeting. I think it would be the time frame. I think you're right, Julie, that it would be along that time frame. Jesse, am I misremembering?
I think that can flow with it. And is Megan is she on with us tonight? Judge?
Yes, sorry,
No.
I'm here. No, I'm here.
Good. Were you with us? I think for some reason I want to say you were with us on that conversation. Do you remember?
Yeah, I think so. Typically we did the teachers gave us their anonymous rubrics filled out with an opportunity to say anything. And the document stated that this would not directly impact the principal's evaluation. It would just be used for information gathering for the committee. And then we do one as a group. And then the principal does a self-evaluation of the same form. And then we do it together in executive session. And then we give it to the principal. I think did we just give it to her? I don't remember. I think we've done it different ways in different years.
Mm-hmm. And then information needs to be transmitted to Daryl by a certain date for contract.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
and he takes our information into account when he does the official ASD evaluation.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. I just that also tracks with my memory as well. And I want to say that maybe Claire was the other individual involved. Susanna, were you involved with us last year in that process?
I think Susanna's on hold
with
here.
her baby.
Yeah.
Claire
I
was
think she
definitely
as
involved.
well.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Alex, does that help with you with the order for your question?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you there for a second. Could you repeat?
Yes, does that help you in terms of the process and the steps? That was your question to me, but does that discussion help?
I'm not sure it did. It did help. I'm not sure it answered the question. Did you form a committee to take those steps and to solicit the information from Principal Pepe Phelps? And I think you said you presented a self-evaluation form to her, but was that done from the whole group, or was it done from a committee?
The committee was officially like the chair, the past chair, and the vice chair to be. So that, I mean, those were the people who, interfaced with the principal. I mean, even before Principal Pepe Phelps, just kind of out of ease.
I was talking loud about Mark. What's the point?
I think so. That's interesting that you'd say that, because right now we have, and I'm just going to raise another issue that might have been a business item had I thought about it, but we have a past chair now who won't be on the council soon, right? But you'll be here still, so you could be potentially, Susanna or Megan, a past chair, but we don't have a vice chair yet. So if that's what we're going to do is have those three for ease, going to manage it, then we'll have to, someone will have to move to appoint a vice chair and a past chair in this session. Susanna, confusing you? Please.
Are you saying that someone will need to be voluntold to be the vice chair?
Well, there's no, actually, we'll have to solicit volunteers, I guess. So, but
Could
Megan.
Not to like exclude anybody who's interested in being on part of this committee, but would it work? Susanna, when are you officially stepping down? At the end of the year or this month?
At the end of the year, because Miles, yeah.
So would it work if Alex, Susanna, and I did it? Does that seem appropriate, or do we want to?
The great country of California.
If someone is interested in stepping up into the vice chair position, I will happily step back until Susanna is ready to leave, because the past chair does not have to be the past chair. Claire stepped in to just be that person because she had a lot of history with the school and a lot of desire to be in that position. But it doesn't have to be a past chair. It's more of it's an automatically executive committee, quote unquote. Like, so there's people that the principal can pull if needed on short notice to help her.
I think somebody may need to mute their microphone. There's some background noise going on.
Is there, do the bylaws, I'm just wondering if it's in the executive session, are all, beside faculty, are all WCC members included in that process, or can they be just the executive committee?
All the WCC members who do not have, so any staff members of Winterberry cannot be in that, right, because you're their supervisor.
Right, but the rest
but
of
it is the rest of the body, not
right,
just the officers.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Because I think it's important when we're learning about just charter schools and all those things to be very clear about the fact that this Winterberry Charter Council is is a body of parents who have established a charter school that kind of is in the same framework as ASD. It's ASD, it's the school board, ASD, and all the charter schools right next to ASD. It does get muddied because we, get employees from ASD and things like that, but charter schools stand on their own with their charter council, and then they hire one employee, and that is me. And then from there goes the things that I do to run the school. And so our charter council has a lot of, I think it is really important that the charter council members know what their principal is supposed to be doing, and that we really kind of take a good assessment of like, what are my job descriptions? How am I doing that job? The feedback that this board can give me about that. I think I really appreciate that. I appreciate having a charter council, as my kind of backup to go to, and I appreciate as much education as that council will take up in order to know what it is that I'm doing and how and what kind of job I'm doing. Daryl does the part of it where I'm an employee of the Anchorage School District, but I think that this council is this is my true boss. This body is who hires me, and Daryl is just kind of an assistant to be sure that I, as a principal of the Anchorage School District, is also doing my basic duties. And I take that really seriously, and I really appreciate in the last year. This is just my first and 3/4 year of principaling with Winterberry, that the council has reached out to me. There has been personal meetings of request and support and things like that all through my time here, and that has been very helpful to me. And I feel like it's vital. It's vital that this committee knows what their principal's supposed to be doing and keeps that in that perspective. And for me, as your employee, I want to know that you know what I'm supposed to be doing, and that I am proving up on that each year, that I'm doing what I am hired to do. And I want us all to know that. And so in that, I think as many members that could be involved in that process so that we can, get around it, and then have some really direct communication about things that you think that I was hired for this position, that I'm doing to your satisfaction, and the things that you think that you'd like me to do better, so that I can have that feedback, so that I can strive to do better in the areas that you feel like I need to do better in. Because hopefully I will always have areas that I can do better in, or that you will that you're paying attention enough to know what I'm supposed to be doing. So anyhow, just a little sideline, sorry. We're still in good time, Alex. We have no timekeeper, but.
That makes a lot of sense to me, Julie. And so however we structure this, I do agree that having the whole WCC involved to the maximum extent possible is a really good idea.
So the distribution and collection of the reports is more of an administrative function and not such a big deal. We can arrange that outside of this meeting, I think, so long as the executive sessions and the actual dialogue discussion is happening in the open. I think we're fine. Am I gathering correctly, Julie? I think sounds about right.
Discussion in the open and executive session.
Yeah, I mean, yes, that's what I mean, yes.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Does it meet the needs of the committee and the timeline that Daryl needs to have this feedback by for faculty evaluations to be back by the April meeting, or do they need to come back sooner?
So per per Julie's contract, because I just looked it up because I wasn't sure. It states that that her evaluation is and a copy of it is provided to her by June 1st. So I don't know if Daryl has a different timeline. I would imagine that they would be concurrent, but Julie might know if there is a different timeline.
Daryl's retiring, so he's going to be kind of out of there very soon after June. So I think the sooner we can wrap what we need to do up, the better. That would be probably helpful to him to get his paperwork done. I don't know his time frame, actually.
The commitment that Sarah and I can make on behalf of faculty is that given that we have the evaluation forms in hand, we will definitely have all of the information gathered from faculty and staff by the April meeting.
You're muted, Alex.
Sorry, I'm toggling between communication methods. Yes, it sounds like we're on track. I can get those reports out. Those forms out tonight or tomorrow at the latest. So there should be plenty of time, ample opportunity to get those things done. And then if we just have our executive session at the next meeting, we're giving Daryl plenty of time. Did I miss anything? I think we're fine. Sarah, you're not trying to talk. You're talking to your son. Any comments? Susanna is occupied. So I'm seeing some chats here. Did they bear upon our current discussion? Okay. Any questions? No? Julie, are you okay? Your comments taken into consideration? Good. All right. Well, I think then the next issue, though, is we still need to we could put it off. Can we? Hey, Megan, can we put off the vice chair and past chair item until the next session? Is that a sure? You're muted.
I don't have a copy of the bylaws in front of me, but I believe that last year we didn't have a vice chair for a long time, right?
That's correct. They do fulfill certain.
When did she get her start?
Unless there are any objections, I think we're putting this off. We're missing one of our potential vice chairs or past chairs, unless you want to vote in absentia, or I think we wait. Okay. Is there anything else? Any other items of business that anybody would like to raise? No? Okay. Can I move on to gratitude? All right. Let's move on.
I like to express gratitude to the Winterberry faculty and staff who have having their world turned upside down last year at this time, have come, have stood up in it, good people in a storm, and have provided their best for our students, the best that they could put together in a virtual setting for the last year for our Winterberry students. And I appreciate and am deeply grateful for the parents and the kind of turning their worlds upside down that this has been, and for their good humor, honest feedback, careful understanding of what was happening, and appreciation. We've ongoingly received appreciation from our parent body, way more than we've ever received any criticism, and that's good. I mean, that's a good sign, and I understand it's been just a hard year for everyone. And we are very excited about coming back in person on Monday. It's our first day of school. So we have all those first day of school jitters and excitement. And so we're going to see our darling children that we've missed for 1 year here pretty soon. So just very grateful for our whole body just coming back.
I am grateful to Alex for stepping into a leadership role. That is not an easy decision to make, knowing what's ahead and knowing that, there's no meeting in the near future where you get to just kind of take a back seat. So I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I'm happy to be here to help in ways that I'm capable of to assist you in those duties. So just reach out.
Thanks, Peter. And I'm grateful for everyone's patience and understanding. Get used to the role. Thanks.
Peter, were you saying you're happy to support as in a vice chair position?
Maybe. I will consider.
This is Sue. I'm looking outside and I have gratitude. I'm going to say it for daylight savings time, because after this meeting, I am going to go for a walk. And because it's still daylight outside. So I'm just embracing that. We're going to go look at the tall, tall, tall snow. And Jake wants to find a place that's not been touched. And he just wants to go sit in it and just sit. So we're going to go find it.
Wonderful. This is Jessie. I'll share some gratitude. I'm grateful for the types of friendships, long-lasting friendships that our kids can build there at Winterberry. Right now, I've been multitasking, I will admit, and I'm making a huge batch of mac and cheese and cookies to send off for a weekend outing Hatcher's going to take with some fellow alumni from Winterberry. And that's really special that they have the opportunity and that lasting friendship. So very, very grateful to our community for that.
I'll just share that I'm again very grateful for this body, for the faculty, for Winterberry, and then on top of that, the return of daylight savings time and the vaccines. I really feel like we're turning a corner. Looking forward to next week. Hopefully, my girls will adjust, as well as all the other students, and it'll go smoothly. But I think it's a real period of excitement after quite a long period of hibernation and cabin fever and all that kind of stuff. So thanks to everybody. And thank you to Alex also for stepping into this role. It's very much appreciated.
I also want to celebrate longtime relationships. My first class's high school graduation announcements are starting to arrive in my mailbox. So it's really exciting.
Are there any other comments? Any other gratitudes? If not, going once, going twice, could somebody make a motion to adjourn?
I motion.
Second.
Who's that? Second? Who was that that gave the second?
I think it was Glasser. Yeah.
Yes, sir. All right. All in favor? Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Great meeting.